Welcome to BoCo Summit, the Rural Broadband Technology Solutions Summit 2018. We wish to thank our sponsors for helping to create a path for fast, affordable connections. Our next panel will be Tech Talk, Leading Technologies, Eminent Uses and Solutions. Anthony Smith, President of Blue Ridge Towers, will be joining us with Mark Johnson, who's the Regional Vice President with Calix, and Bob Bailey, Executive Director of CAER and SOVA Innovation Center. Also, Josh Hoyle, who is a Broadband Manager for Graybar Electric, and Joe Reeser, Business Development at Adtran, and Manny Fernandez, Sales Engineer with Fujitsu Network. Our moderator for this panel is David Smith, who is the Director of Engineering with Lumos Networks.
Without any delay, I'll welcome to the stage David Smith with Lumos and let him get his panel on the board. Yeah, while they're getting together, yeah.
So to the panel that just spoke, great job, by the way. I'm here, I was tasked by the Commonwealth Transportation Board to come up with geographical areas that are suitable for early deployments or pilots to try to meet, obviously, transportation objectives as well as the governor's objectives. So I was just wondering if it was possible that I could get access to the strategies that your respective companies are planning or have already put in place. So I just wanted to put that request out there. I don't know if anybody can hear me or not, but I would like to, maybe a few. So my name's Felicia. Just find me. I want to try to figure out how to get access to your strategies for your respective companies, just to try to see how we can help. Oh, yes, I'm with VDOT, and I'm here representing the P3 office, the Public and Private Partnerships office. We're just trying to put together deals that will eventually help to benefit transportation as well as the rural divide in which we're talking about. So I have to deliver stuff by the end of the year, so I need as much help as I can get. And I'm here to be a sponge because I feel like VDOT has a lot of assets. We have a lot of good connections that can help, and we have access to a lot of funding that could possibly help to push some of your initiatives forward.
And you control a lot of right-of-ways.
Right.
Can we put together something that people can respond to for?
Yeah, we'll work on that, but I want to get David started. Go ahead.
All right, no problem. Thank you. So I'm David Smith. I'm Director of Engineering with Lumos Networks. We're one of the providers in this area. It's kind of interesting, sitting back, we got together as a group to go over high level what we expected. And the group did a really good job that put this agenda together because it's led us to where we are here with this panel. So really this panel is looking at it from a technology perspective, right? This is a tech talk section. So Walter, Brandon, Daryl, this is time for you guys to geek out. I'm gonna make sure there's time for questions at the end outside of the general questions. But what I want to do is go ahead and just go down the line, let each individual introduce themselves, what they do for the companies, and a little bit about their companies. So go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Mark Johnson. I'm Vice President of Calix Networks, and we power the optical networks that deliver broadband to pretty much most of the communications providers in Virginia. We're out of California. I'm out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And we're going to talk about the different technologies you can use to deploy broadband and what it's going to take you to get to carry yourself into the future with that technology.
I'm Bob Bailey. I'm with the SOVA Innovation Center for TV Whitespace Development. That's out of Bedford County, and we focus on research and development and deployment of TV Whitespace as a option for rural broadband access.
Good afternoon. My name is Manny Fernandez. I'm with Fujitsu Network Communications out of Richardson, Texas. I'm what is referred to as a solutions engineer with multiple technologies. I don't have a region, I guess. I travel the whole country, and my passion lately has become broadband. So deep dive into that solutions.
My name is Joe Reeser. I work for AdTran. I'm in business development at AdTran. AdTran, what we do is we manufacture broadband equipment. We sell a lot of equipment to Lumos. We sell a lot of equipment to Shentel. We've been in business for over 30 years. We have lots of different technologies to help you deploy to be successful in delivering broadband. We do everything from copper to fiber to fixed wireless. We do all those things. So now's the time to dig in.
My name is Anthony Smith. I'm with Blue Ridge Towers. We are a regional tower development, tower ownership company with a specialty in providing towers in niche rural markets that have extreme either zoning or National Park Service issues.
Thank you, guys. So I'm going to start off first with you, Mark. Tell us a little bit of some of the challenges that you see for service providers today and kind of where that has evolved from a couple years ago.
Sure. So I think a few years ago, if we look back, the biggest challenge was deploying fiber to the home, and then we left the fiber at the outside of the house and handed it off to the customer and said, that's it. The demarc is done. We spent $3,000 or $4,000, getting the fiber to the home, and now it's your problem inside the home. And we've talked a little bit about the Internet of Things today and the devices that are inside the home that are driving more broadband. So our customers, and we've got 1,500 customers deploying fiber right now, and they're starting to understand that the big challenge isn't just getting the fiber to the edge of the home, it's also that wireless demarc inside the home, and how do you manage that? I've got 31 Wi-Fi devices in my house that are connected. A lot of people have more than that. And if you're going to spend all that money deploying an optical network to the home and providing great broadband, the challenge is now inside the house. So that's my advice. When you do a network, make sure you do the whole thing and don't stop on the outside of the home, because you just wasted a huge part of your money, your investment, and the cheapest, least expensive part is what you're skimping out on. So.
And if I can add a little bit to that, so, us at Lumos, the way we look at it, we used to be that same concept. We stopped at the NID, right, the device at the outside of the home. Now our concept is to own the whole home, right? So we offer all the solutions that Mark was referring to, and not only offering the solutions, but be able to manage that, right, to be able to support it for your consumers. So a lot of R&D goes into that now with the provider group. Bob, for you, I know you got a session tomorrow, a little bit more on white space, but go ahead and tell us exactly what is white space, TV white space, and what are some issues that still need to be addressed for that technology?
Sure. Yeah, and I am on the agenda for tomorrow to do a TV white space 101, so this will be a remedial high end. So TV white space technology is a fixed wireless option for broadband access. We would all like nothing better than to write a check and go out and lay fiber to all the homes and go, and we're done, and light it up. But that's just not feasible. So fixed wireless is an option that we've got, and there's a variety of fixed wireless options that are out there. TV white space is one that utilizes the TV band of spectrum. So again, I think we've had some competition about who's old enough to remember certain things. Well, if you remember TV in the pre-cable days, when I grew up in an area we had 3 channels and rabbit ears. So the space in between channels is open spectrum, and it's available to use. And it's got some nice characteristics for broadband. For example, it has pretty decent propagation characteristics for distance. And the best example of that is we've all had the car with a big stereo that's coming down the street, and the first thing that we hear, and the last thing when it's coming to us, and the last thing that we hear when it's going away is that low bass sound. So those lower frequencies travel a lot farther. And they also can go through trees and walls. I mean, again, if you remember, we were always struggling with, is the rabbit ear good enough? Or do I need to put an antenna up on the roof? And quite often the rabbit ear inside the building was good enough. So, in short, what TV white space is a transmission radio that's the equivalent of the TV station that's transmitting the information, and then in your house you have a receiver and a set of rabbit ears, essentially, that you hook to a router, and that's where you get your broadband from.
And then, Manny, for you, I know that you mentioned already that you look at it from a overall solutions perspective. Could you go into detail a little bit more about how not only do you just choose one vendor, you look at it from a point, the starting point to the end point for the different areas that you concentrate in?
Right, so for broadband solutions, what we do is first we go to the local community and do analysis to figure out what the challenges are there. Some of those challenges are cost, funding, also technology, how much bandwidth do we want to drive to the home. So we do an assessment in terms of what is the population, what's the expected population growth over the next 10 years, because you don't want to put a solution in that's going to be dead in 2 years. So we look at that. Again, we look at the average income, we look at the growth rate, we look at many different factors. There's a long list of factors that we do an analysis with the local team, figure out what it is that they're trying to get to from a technology perspective, and deliver broadband services to individuals in that community, but also look at, are there any what we refer to as smart city applications, like someone was talking about having a farm with grapes and using sensors. That's referred to as a smart city opportunity. So we'd look at not only the broadband, but also the applications. Can the city also take advantage of certain things? Give you an example, where I live, they use something called smart water, where there's actually sensors on the ground. I do not water my lawn. The sensor figures out the moisture in the ground and turns on the water for me. No one looks at the meter. All that information and data sent right back to the water company. I just get a bill. This reduces the cost from the city and also saves money for the user. As someone was mentioning, someone had, I think they were raising grapes. And you can actually grow different things which require different amounts of water. And you can put sensors on the ground, you can set those, smart sensors, all of that goes back to data analytics, and you come out with a solution that can save money for the user as well as for the city. So we tie that into broadband and figure a way to get solutions. So those solutions can be, it could be fiber, it could be it's not satellite, I'm sorry. It could be wireless LTE, it could be microwave. I have seen satellite, although that's very rare, because usually satellite is kind of like a last-ditch effort because you get about 2 to 3 megs and it's kind of unreliable. But generally speaking, it's going to be a combination of LTE, microwave, fiber. And what we do is we assess that based on the area. So to give you an example, we worked on a project in New Hampshire, which is basically one of those beautiful states, but it's a rock. And planting fiber there is extremely expensive. And so we looked at LTE solutions, we looked at microwave. Where there was fiber, we used the fiber. So one of the things we do is try to make an assessment as what existing infrastructure is already there that we can utilize and save cost. And so that's how we look at things. We do assessments, we figure out the technology, we figure out what the solution needs to be, and then, again, provide a holistic solution.
Thank you, Manny. And to go on there a little bit, down to Joe, I believe strongly that the issue here in Botetourt County won't be solved with one solution, right? One, potentially not even one company can resolve this solution. It'll be, a group effort. So from AdTran's perspective, what solutions have you guys kind of launched or working on to combat this issue?
Obviously, fiber to the home is the nirvana, right? Once you get fiber to the home, then you can basically grow, to 10 gig to the home if you wanted to. It's basically unlimited bandwidth. But obviously, there's a price associated with that. It's going to cost you quite a few dollars to get that done. So if it doesn't make sense economically to do all fiber to the home, there's other approaches like fiber to the node, where you kind of build I'm not going to call it a backbone, but you actually provide fiber to a node and then do the copper that's in the ground, and then provide high-speed access via those copper loops that may already be there. For example, if you do 2-pair bonded and vectored today, you can do 100 meg to the home at like 3,400 feet, which is more than enough bandwidth for today, right, doing copper. However, you may not be able to get fiber to that node, so what's the next solution? The next solution would be doing fixed wireless to that node and then do copper, and then possibly bonded copper to that. So, there's multiple approaches. The first approach, of course, is doing all fiber. The second is fiber to the node. The third is doing fixed wireless to the node and then doing the copper loops. So multiple different approaches to kind of reduce that. But we're also doing things about driving the cost out of fiber to the home. For example, a few years ago, a typical ONT, or optical network termination, that sat on the outside of the home was in the $300 to $350 range. Today we have micro ONTs that go inside the home that are less than $100. So we have significantly reduced the cost or improved your business model to actually do that fiber to the home install. I mean, if you can get there, if you can bite the bullet, there's nothing better than fiber. So, but again, if it doesn't make sense economically, there's other approaches, fiber to the node, and even fixed wireless to that node, and then copper to the home.
Thank you, Joe. Then, Anthony, for you, I know you guys have evolved over the last few years in looking at going further than just the tower deployments piece of it. So kind of give the group a little high level of what you've seen as the evolution since you guys been doing towers and now launching the service yourselves.
Blue Ridge Towers, we are an infrastructure company. Our service that we provide to our cellular companies, carriers that we provide tower space for, and some WISP, is just that infrastructure. We started off building cell towers 6 years ago, and now today we have found ourselves in a position that counties are looking to utilize us as last mile partners because we can beat the fiber out to the most rural locations. As we all know, it's very, very expensive to bore, as the gentleman from Texas said, through mountains and up and down hills to locations that only have 30 or 50 homes. And so what we've done is we've put ourselves in a position that we could be a partner with some of the WISPs that want to deploy their fixed wireless solutions, and also through microwave backhaul and partnering with some of the existing fiber providers with the towers that we currently own and or future towers that we are developing, provide that microwave backhaul or that fixed wireless infrastructure that the different carriers need to deploy in these rural markets. We have several towers here in Botetourt County that we've either constructed or in the pipeline to be constructed that are focusing strictly on that.
Thank you, Anthony. I have a number more questions I can go with, but I'm also wanting to watch our time, so I want to give some time to the group. Do we have any questions that you would like to direct? Because I will say, not often do we get this type of level of people in our industry at a conference like this. So, any type of questions we have?
I think it's Bob talking about the white space. The white space bi-directional.
Like down and up?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the question was, is the white space bi-directional so that it has an upload and a download
Yes.
speed? Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just feel like I have a whole lot of questions, but with regard to the white space, my first question is it cost effective? I know some certain types of broadband deployment cost a little bit more, so what's the cost?
It's a good question, and I think it would have been one of Dave's follow-up questions, so here it is anyway.
Yep.
So one of the biggest initiatives, challenges, opportunities, they're all the same thing, right? That the TV white space technology is dealing with right now is the R&D needed to drive the cost down. There is a lot of opportunity to continue to drive most of the focus, technology focus has been on getting it to work and getting the speeds where we want them to be. Now it's a matter of driving that cost down to make it more and more attractive in different areas. So that's a short answer to that.
And then I'll attend tomorrow just so that I can learn what infrastructure requirements.
And I'm here all day tomorrow, so if you see me in the hallway or whatever, just here.
Thank you. And my second question is for Anthony Smith. So how far is your jurisdiction for Blue Ridge Towers? I mean, is it Blue Ridge because you're in this area, or do you broaden out your horizon?
Blue Ridge, because we're based here, but we operate in a 7-state market.
Okay, so anywhere across Virginia, you would.
Virginia's, Carolinas, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Indiana.
Okay, and that includes providing solutions to, or just the actual towers?
The towers itself. We recently founded a wireless internet service provider called BriskNet, and our footprint now that we're concentrating on is strictly Southwest Virginia.
Okay, so if I needed a company to help me with solutioning an area that was mountainous with certain terrains, that wouldn't be your company. You would build the towers, but I would have to get
Well,
somebody else to.
That's our company's niche, is going into hard terrain areas and providing either 5.8 or 900 megahertz service. We're deploying Cambium equipment at BriskNet.
Okay.
So again, our 5.8 is more line of sight from the tower directly to the home, and our 900 megahertz service is the type of service that penetrates the leaves and handles the topography a lot better than a line of sight antenna.
Thank you.
Yes.
So on this low band, 900, what would you say it was, 900 kilohertz?
Megahertz, yes.
Do you have to have a special receiver for that, or what does the consumer
It's a
have to
pretty
purchase?
ugly Yagi antenna, I'll tell you that right now. I didn't like it when Cambium FedExed it to me. So the 5.8 is just a very small, you can live with it. It's a small little dish mounted to the side of your house. But the 900 megahertz is about a 3-foot long, ugly Yagi antenna, but we'll put it somewhere you don't have to look at it.
I was talking to a seller of smartphones, and they were talking about low band being introduced. One of the suppliers was going to go to a low band, but it wasn't on the phones. So is there a possibility to take these existing towers and put something like that on them for, like, let's say the tower, I could point at the tower from my place, but I can't get it through the house, or it was hard to get a signal through the walls and so forth, and there was a valley in between. And I was thinking, what is the prospects for increasing the space for a tower or a configuration to go over a larger space than what we currently see? Is that in the works, or?
I didn't understand the question. So
Well, the question is, what is the technology on the towers?
the towers is vertical real estate. It's a piece of steel. And the technology on the tower is the
With
antennas. You know,
the
so
providers, let's say Verizon or Sprint or what have you, are people willing to put up a better?
I think I understand your question.
It's
So,
an innovative thing. It's like, what technology is there or will there be
yes,
on a tower to increase its spread from 2 miles to
Yeah.
5 miles?
yes, that
Because once you
technology.
do that, you've opened up a lot of space here in Botetourt County.
So that technology is coming out. It's called CBRS. It's an LTE solution where it reaches out almost to 10 kilometers. And then if you need indoor support, additional support, there's a UE device, which is a wireless device, which would sit in your house, and that would give you coverage up to 1 kilometer from your house. So that extends into your backyard and everywhere else. And that would feed into that 7 kilometer to 10 kilometer CBRS LTE solution that would reside on his tower. So you will see increased bandwidth. The CBRS actually can deliver the initial test. By the way, this will be out in about 18 months. Okay, so right now the testing on it has showed that it can support up to 3.5 to 3.7 gig of data, where today the cell towers can support hundreds of megs to 1 gig. This is almost going to quadruple the amount of data that it can deliver. And again, that's coming out in about 18 months, the industry is. Right now, we're kind of in an exciting time from an industry perspective because the whole industry is kind of evolving into more of a um, software solutions perspective. But this is something that is coming out to kind of address your question directly.
Right, I mean, my driveway is a half a mile.
There you go. So you'll be covered.
But I can see the tower,
Yeah.
and I just want to report that I have a new 10X, and I got 80 gigabytes a second on it off that tower, whereas before I was like getting 20, 25.
Right.
So I can see the technology is like happening right before our eyes. When I was
Well,
like running it, and I said,
yeah,
oh my
and-
God, and it was like.
And what's really exciting about this new technology that's coming out here is that it also has better utilization of the bandwidth. So before you'd kind of have a dedicated channel, and with this new technology, it gives you efficiency on the wireless, because as the users stop using their service, or they hang up their phone, whatever it is that they're doing, as long as they're off the network, that bandwidth now becomes available to another user. So it's a shared bandwidth, whereas before it was not. In the prior technologies, it's not shared. So you're going to see increased bandwidth and better bandwidth utilization in order to deliver better services in areas that are tough to get fiber into. Fiber is always number one. You'll always get good results with that. But where you can't get fiber, either because the average cost of fiber across the country is $27,000 a mile. So when we talk to local communities, we look at their fiber plant to see if it's there and it exists. And where it makes sense, maybe we'll put additional fiber. Where it doesn't make sense, you use the wireless technology.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your responses.
Sure.
I believe we're out of time. So
That was
I
quick.
didn't know there was, yeah, that was a good session. I know the group will be, I think, around for right after.
Now we want to hear from you. Email us bocosummit@botetoppva.gov. Engage with us on our journey. We give a special thanks to our community volunteers, and special thanks goes to these organizations. Again, thank you, our sponsors, for helping us to create a path for fast, affordable connections. BoCo Summit, the Rural Broadband Technology Solutions Summit, is presented by Botetourt County of Virginia.